The phone shattered the fragile silence of my empty home at precisely 3:15 p.m. The digital clock on the wall mocking me as I sat frozen, staring at the urn that held what was left of my husband, David. Just 48 hours since we'd scattered his ashes in the park where we'd shared our first kiss. And already the world felt like it was caving in. The caller ID flashed Victoria Langford, his mother. A name that always sent a chill down my spine. I answered, my voice barely above a whisper, raw from the sobs that had wrung me dry at the memorial. Victoria, I managed. But she cut through like a winter wind off Lake Michigan. No warmth. No shared grief, just my name. Anna spat out like an accusation. You need to start packing. The movers will be there by dawn tomorrow. That house is sold. And you're out. Her words landed like a gut punch, knocking the air from my lungs. I clutched the arm of the leather chair where David and I had spent lazy Sundays, trading dreams about the family we'd build, the trips we'd take once his engineering firm took off. Now, those dreams were ashes too. What? This is my home. David is dead, she interrupted. Her tone flat, final, laced with that superior edge she'd honed over years of boardroom battles in her real estate empire. And that property has always been mine. I merely tolerated you playing pretend in it for his sake. The cruelty twisted in my chest. A fresh wound on top of the gaping hole David's cancer had left. 8 years of marriage. And she'd never let go of her disdain for my common roots as a social worker helping immigrant families in Chicago. For my lack of pedigree. For daring to steal her golden boy from the polished debutantes she paraded before him. I slid to the floor, the cool hardwood pressing against my palms, remembering how David had defended me time and again. His voice steady against her barbs. You can't. The funeral was yesterday. Please, give me time. But her laugh was sharp, devoid of mercy. Time? You've had 8 years of my generosity. Now, reality bites. Be gone by morning. Or I'll have the sheriff escort you. She hung up, leaving me in the echo of her victory. The weight of betrayal sinking deeper than grief. How could she strip away the last piece of him so callously? But as the afternoon light faded, something stirred beneath the pain, a quiet rage, born from years of swallowed insults and silent endurance. Flashback to 5 years earlier, when fate twisted our paths at a fundraiser for the local shelter where I volunteered. I'd shown up in a thrift store dress, feeling like an intruder among the glittering crowd in that downtown hotel ballroom. David was there, tugging at his collar, looking as out of place as I felt tall, with that easy smile that hid the exhaustion from long hours designing sustainable bridges for the city. Our eyes met over the appetizer table, and he leaned in, whispering, "You look like you'd rather be anywhere but here." Same. We slipped out early, ending up at a hole-in-the-wall diner sharing greasy fries and stories until the sun rose. He talked about his passion for architecture that rebuilt communities, not just structures, and the suffocating grip of his mother's expectations, Victoria, the cell-made tycoon who'd clawed her way from nothing to owning half the high-rises in the Loop. I shared my world, advocating for families navigating the system, drawing from my own childhood in a cramped apartment with parents who worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. My mom thinks I need someone who can network at galas, he said, rolling his eyes. But I want real, someone who sees the cracks in the world and fixes them. We fell hard, fast, building a life that felt unbreakable. But Victoria loomed like a shadow. Our first dinner at her penthouse was a battlefield, her eyes dissecting my outfit, her questions probing my limited education, my unambitious career. David needs a partner who elevates him, she'd say over wine that cost more than my rent. He stood firm. But her attacks escalated: uninvited visits, accidental setups with old flames, even whispers to his colleagues about my unsuitability. We eloped in a quiet ceremony at City Hall, but she crashed the small reception. Her smile a mask over venom. This won't last, she predicted to anyone listening. Yet it did, until the diagnosis 4 months ago shattered everything. Back in the present, the house felt haunted by memories as I wandered the halls that night. Victoria's ultimatum festering like poison. David's favorite armchair still bore the imprint of his form. The kitchen counter held echoes of our late-night talks over coffee. How had he never mentioned her claim on this place? We'd picked it together, a modest bungalow in the suburbs, away from her downtown empire, using his savings from projects she'd never touched. Or so I'd thought. Doubt crept in, mingling with the grief, turning my stomach. Why the secrecy about finances? He'd always handled the boring stuff, insisting I focus on my work with vulnerable kids. Protective, I'd called it. Now, it felt like a veil. In our bedroom, I collapsed onto the bed, my eyes landing on our framed photo from that diner night, grins wide, futures bright. Something odd caught my eye, a faint outline behind the frame, like a seam in the wall. Heart pounding. I pried it away, revealing a concealed panel with a digital lock. Fingers trembling. I tried dates, our anniversary, his birthday. Nothing. Then mine, the day he always said changed his life forever. Click. The compartment opened, spilling folders, drives, and a sealed envelope addressed to me in his neat script. Tears blurred the words as I read, "My love. Anna, if this is open, I'm gone." And she struck. Forgive the silence, I shielded you from her web. She's been forging, stealing, manipulating for years. Evidence here proves it all. Fight her. You're my strength. The pain shifted, hardening into resolve. He'd known her darkness, anticipated this betrayal, and armed me from the grave. The documents painted a damning portrait. Bank records of siphoned funds from David's independent accounts, tens of thousands vanishing into Victoria's holdings with signatures that screamed forgery. Loops too perfect. Unlike his hurried scrawl. Property deeds, the real ones, showed he'd bought our home outright in 2018 with his paternal inheritance, free of her clause. But she'd fabricated parallels, using her network of shady lawyers to create illusions of ownership. Worse, transfers dated a year ago placed everything in my name: the house, investments, even stakes in her company he'd quietly acquired. He'd built this fortress in silence, enduring her manipulations while his health failed, all to protect me. The betrayal burned her from greed, him from love's heavy cost. By morning, rage had eclipsed grief. I called my sister, Mia, a paralegal in Milwaukee who'd always warned me about Victoria's type. That viper, she spat after I spilled it all. I've got a shark for you, Lauren Hayes. Eats fraud cases for breakfast. She'll bury her. By noon, I sat in Lauren's sleek office overlooking the city. Stacks of evidence spread like weapons. This isn't just family drama, Lauren said, eyes gleaming. It's felony fraud, embezzlement, identity theft. Victoria's empire crumbles with this. We mapped the counterstrike, injunctions, audits, a civil suit that could strip her bare. But first, confrontation. Her buyers were due at 4 p.m. for inspection. Lauren grinned. Let's crash her party. I waited in the living room, heart thundering, as Victoria's luxury SUV purred into the drive, trailed by a minivan. She barged in without knocking, key in hand, a spare David had given for emergencies she'd abused. Anna, I trust you're packed. The Reynolds are here to claim their new home. The couple trailed her, eager smiles fading at my composed stance, folder and grip. Victoria, I said, voice steel. And you must be the victims in this. Please. Sit. Her eyes narrowed. What games are you playing? I laid out the real deed. No games. Just truth. This house is mine, has been since David transferred it. Your deed? A forgery. Like the rest. The Reynolds paled as I unveiled the forgeries. Transfers. The letter. Victoria's facade cracked. Sweat beading despite the AC. Lies. He's gone. You can't prove Lauren stepped from the hall. Papers ready. We can. And will, in court. Unless you fold now. The room tensed. Victoria's breath ragged. The Reynolds demanded refunds. Furious at the deception. Cornered. She crumbled. Agreeing to repay $250,000 stolen. Plus $80,000 to them, wire transfers initiated on the spot. A notarized confession signed with shaking hands. Her apology was forced. Hollow, I underestimated you. As she left. Defeated. I whispered. David didn't. That's why you lost. The price? Her isolation in her empty penthouse. Reputation intact but soul-scarred. For me. The house became a haven for betrayed spouses. David's legacy alive. Revenge tasted bitter. His silence had cost us precious time, but in the end, it forged my unbreakable core.